Saturday live stream inside the Code Noobs group. Hello, Randall. Hello, Danny. How are you, gents, this morning?
Good.
Happy
Morning,
August
Russ.
August 9th at 9 a.m. to y'all.
Have you? I can't believe it's August 9:30, dude. Man,
Right,
summer is
it's
just
mind blowing.
cruising.
It is
It
cruising.
is.
Dude, I'm
Holy
seeing
cow.
like all the schools around me are starting to like fill, like the parking lots are filling with the teachers getting ready and
Yeah.
everything.
Dude, what
Students
kills me is
are,
all the stores to do back to school in like June. So it's like it's super like the school hasn't even
I know.
ended. They're like,
Dude,
get ready for fall.
I saw freaking um Halloween stuff at Publix the other day. I was like, this is insane. I was like, you're pumping candy out right now. It's the first week of August. What's going on? They're like,
Jesus.
yep.
They gotta keep this
Only
stuff
2.5
moving.
months away.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess. I mean, it's also only 6 months away from Christmas or something. Let's start just
Yeah,
pumping out Christmas trees.
Yeah,
might
It's
as well.
crazy. I
time
know.
goes too fast. It really
Yeah,
does.
it really does.
You know what else they're pumping out? New
Hey,
New
Chat
I'm
GPT models.
new
yeah.
GPT models, and that's what
Yeah.
we're talking. I know, amazing transition there, Randall. I'm
That was
very
nice.
hmm
impressed. Very
That
impressed.
was very nice.
Yeah, today we're talking about the newest GPT model, GPT-5. If you guys have had a chance, you may have gotten your hands dirty with it. I know I've played with it a little bit. I've gotten my hands a little bit dirty and
I messed around with it
had
some so far since it's been out over yesterday, basically.
yeah, good to see you too, Charles. I think that's Charles, Fast Break Digital,
Yeah.
and Chris and Sly. Hello, everybody. I
What's
think
up,
that's
everybody?
David. What's up, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they released this new model this week, and it's supposed to be like the end all be all. You'll never need to use anything else ever. It's just amazing. It does everything amazing. It's perfect. Buy it.
Well, it's funny because like I think that is always the problem nowadays is like anytime anything comes out, it's like they hype stuff up so much,
hmm
and it's almost to the detriment, I think, of the product
Yeah,
because
because I think
nothing
we,
can live up to that, right? Like nothing can live up to what they
You know
say.
what? You know what they didn't hype up that was actually somewhat disappointing release? The Nintendo Switch 2.
I
I
know,
feel like there
right?
was no hype about it. There was nothing
No,
special about it. Because
But it
like
no,
was
when
good.
Switch 1 came out with Zelda, it was like a revolutionary game.
because
I
Switch
was
2 is
hoping
just
that
a
they would come out with a
reiteration
new.
of Switch. That's all it was. It was just they just
Yeah,
updated
I
the
didn't.
graphics.
I didn't even know that it was out, and then somebody told me they saw it at a store, and I was like, "You're kidding! It's out already?" And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
well,
Yeah,
son of a gun."
yeah.
but it's
I
it
don't
is
know.
nuts.
I think the hype thing is like, overplayed too though, because it just desensitizes consumers to like when things are actually good. Like we're not, now
Well,
we're like, oh, everything's amazing. It's the
well,
next
it's like these
revolution.
the tech companies did this too, where they have to do these like announcement like
The
things, like they do these,
keynotes. Yeah.
yeah,
Thanks
these
to
full
Steve
like,
Jobs.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve
yeah,
Jobs. The iPhone.
but they did it every time. But I mean, like it's like I don't know, what did you guys think? I thought like GPT-5, it's definitely like you can definitely tell there's some improvement there. Like it's definitely better than,
I think
and we're
it's
seeing this iteration of them. They're all getting better. I think this is the problem. It's hard to like. It's
yeah.
like I was saying before the live stream, like when they came out with 3.5 and like Turbo and like 4, like there was no other game in town at the time. Like they were incredible, like absolutely incredible because they were new, but now we've worked with this stuff and we're seeing like it's like Switch 2, right? You're seeing an iteration where it's an advanced model for sure. It's definitely better, but it's not like gonna blow your mind because you've already used these things.
I
Yeah.
like what you said there, and that reminded me. It kind of feels like cell phones nowadays, where like
Yeah.
a new phone comes out and it's like, well, it's got 30 million point nine megapixels instead of 26 million point six megapixels, and your eye can only see like 11. I don't know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever. But I feel like that's the same thing. Like I was like, oh, GPT-5, let's mess around with it, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's faster, but it's
Have you
not like it's revolutionary.
have you ever seen those old memes for like the iPhone when they first started adding like extra cameras and it was like iPhone 10 and it was like one camera, iPhone 11 was two, and then it was like iPhone projected view of iPhone 30 and it was like 30 cameras.
They're just all over it.
It's pretty much what it
Yeah.
is at this point.
Well, because
Well,
they're trying to come up with ways to make it right to make it different from other things. And I will say, like, I don't know if you read, like, I didn't see the keynote, but I read the I got their email from GPT-5
Hmm.
release, and I read some of the things they sent.
That's
And they did make some updates to the API that are interesting. So like for developers, like with the agentic workflow and stuff, they added
hmm
like a way to pause it and to like inject something else so like you can modify
yeah,
things on the fly, which is cool. They
that
added
is
like
pretty
the
cool.
thinking parameters so you can like do not just slow or fast, but like a medium level. So they're updating a lot of like little tweaking things too in the back end that are cool.
Yeah. I wanted to like cover some of those. I did watch like most of the keynote. I was like listening to it as I was doing work around the house, but um, honestly, I thought the keynote it was generally like every other keynote, but there was no part where I was like, "Oh my God, that's incredible. Like this is so mind-blowing." It was just a lot of like, okay, that's a mild advancement, or like that's kind of like what it did before. But
Well, I think
what
this is it, right? Like we were saying before, I think like we're getting to the point where the all these models have gotten very good. Like
yeah,
honestly, like I was thinking about that the other day. If I was stuck with any one of these, Claude or Gemini or Chat, and I only had one, I could still do what I need to do. Like so, I think they're all gotten to this point of being very
like
useful.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, and like so now it's like yeah, it's a little faster maybe it thinks through things a little bit better and gives you a more precise answer, but it's hard to see those smaller improvements
Right, because it's
because
just so good in general.
yeah,
Like it's yeah.
they're very good. So it's
What
like
what's up, Red Cyber Noah? Good to have you subscribe. Thanks for joining us here. Um, if you guys have any questions or want to add to the conversation, feel free to drop them in the comments. We'll read them off. But
absolutely.
but yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's gotten to the point where it's, so good that it's hard to see the minor differences. I'm gonna just like read. I did watch the keynote and I actually like trans took the transcription and just like fed it into GPT-5 to get like some bullet points. So I'm just gonna read through them because these are like the major changes that they've
I
sort of
will say the
made.
pricing has gotten better too. I do like for the API, if you do
Yeah.
use that, like with the Nano and Mini, the pricing on those has gotten really nice.
Definitely. One thing I noticed is I do have access to GPT-5 in like the browser, but I can't access like the Nano and Mini in there yet. Like I only
Well,
have the flagship model.
I think that's the idea behind it. Is it's just supposed to it's supposed to be the one GPT to rule them all. So it can
Yeah.
decide what you use from now on.
So
Because before there were so many options. You had like, GPT
For
4.0,
Mini,
4.1, mini, whatever. And it's just like
yeah,
I don't know what
it's
the heck to use that
confusing.
oh
for. So
boy,
this is just supposed to do it all
yeah.
for you.
I think that's
Plug and play.
I think that's awesome, but I will tell you my experience that happened yesterday that really like pissed me off and actually made me almost cancel, and I'll explain what happened. So,
So if you're
so
listening, Sam Altman.
yeah, so if you're listening, so basically, I was like, hey, I want to just like give this a test run, see like what kind of hard thing I can do. So I was like, I haven't used 3JS that much, and I know coding 3JS is fairly complicated, right? Like making 3D canvases on a website is fairly complicated. So I was like, this might be a good test. And I want to experience this. Like, I think, a lot of what we hear on these keynotes is like, oh, it was top of this benchmark or this benchmark or this benchmark. I don't care about any benchmark. I care about the human benchmark, which is like, how well can I use it and get results, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. It's not like what, orchestrated benchmark they're passing. So I went on there onto ChatGPT, which I use regularly, and I prompted it, and I was like, "Hey, I want you to create me um, this like hero section, like a 3D hero section using 3JS." And it made a picture first. It like literally didn't even get that I wanted it to
Like
code.
this?
Yeah, it was like, here's a picture of the whatever. And I was like, no, 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 I want you to code it. So then it was like, oh, okay. And it transferred over because now they have this like new coding dashboard where you can run like a program on ChatGPT. They're sort of mocking, not mocking in like they're making fun of, but like it's a mock-up of sort of what Cursor is, right? So it's like it'll code, you have a prompt window, it'll code, and then you can like run it. And so it wrote all the code, and then I clicked run code, and it failed. Like it didn't it there were bugs in it, right? Which number one is that was like their whole thing where it was like it'll fix bugs. Well, it just created bugs. And then it was very hard to figure out how to get it to like fix the bug, like how to prompt it, like, hey, this is the issue. But there's like this panel that opens when you hover in a certain spot, and there's like a fix bugs button. I pressed that, it ran same bugs. Pressed it again, it ran same bugs. And like seeing the preview took a lot of time to spin up. And then I literally probably did that 3 or 4 times. And then I hit a rate limit that was like, you've exceeded the number of prompts you can do in this hour or in so many hours. Something, it was very vague too. It didn't say like when I could prompt
I bet
again.
you that was because there was probably too many people using it at once or something, and it was just
Probably.
like send out this generic message.
Yeah, it probably is, and I think that'll improve over time, but it was just a very bad user experience. And I know they're slowly rolling it out to try to limit that, right? I have a paid account, but here's the bigger issue that I have is that because now they removed all of the other models, it literally just locked down ChatGPT and it became completely useless. I couldn't do anything with it. Like I literally couldn't prompt anything. Normally, it would be like, hey, you've reached your limit for this. They'll be slower, or you can switch to a different model or something. So I can still keep using it a little bit. But it was like now I'm just paying for a service that is literally doesn't do anything. So that at that point I was like, I'm gonna cancel. And then
Well,
I
congrats, you bricked ChatGPT.
yeah,
Yeah,
literally.
right.
And then I was like, I know that they're probably going to fix this over time. So I went to cancel and it was like, do you want 3 months for half the price? And I was like, okay, let's do that instead.
That's
So
fine. That sounds
so
good.
we'll see if they fix it in the next 3 months where I can um, use other models. I mean, I actually have seen LinkedIn posts where people are suggesting they're going to bring that back so that you can switch to another model when you hit those rate limits because it makes sense, right? Like,
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous not to have that. And like I think part of this was too, I think they're clearly really trying to promote it, right? You're getting free
hmm
access and cursor to it. Like
hmm
so I think that was part of it, like that switch up and maybe we'll see. Hopefully we'll see. Because I did like the model choice because on some stuff you don't need the newest model. You just don't. Like there's certain
Yeah,
things where there's no
no.
reason to
It's
use
like
it
I
and
just want something dumb. Like I have a dumb question that I don't feel like looking up. And I
but
think
it definitely, I mean, it's definitely improved on stuff, but I think that's it. Like, yeah, it's just like I don't need all these. I don't always need the best, and it's like if it's going to cost a lot and limit how many times I can make calls, then it's not
right.
useful.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like I think one of the things that ChatGPT has going for it is that it is multimodal, right? You can do like text code, image, voice, audio, whatever. But when you lock that down, I'm like, I'll just switch to Claude because it just text and the limits are so much higher. Like it's the same price. It's in a lot of ways better. So I don't know.
There are some things it didn't fix. I was watching some dude talking about how it's still having like massive problems with hallucinations because
Yeah.
he was testing it with like the older versions and GPT-5, and he's like, give 10 examples of when fast food companies created electronics products or something like that.
Yeah.
And it just hallucinated like 10 of them.
Yeah.
Like totally
Well,
confidently, like, oh yeah, these all exist.
it's funny. So I want to read these because that's one of the things that they mentioned in here. And I also want to just call out Red Cyber said, the only AI I use is ChatGPT. And Sly said, yeah, I have a paid account too. And all I have is ChatGPT 5 and 5 thinking. And yeah, that's not all that I have as
That's all you
well.
get now. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are I'm just gonna run through these like quickly, but these are like the major like things, advances that have been made. So number one is like context window. So the context window is now 400K token context window, which is like better than most, but I think GPT 4.1 had like a million token
It
window
did.
too. So
Yeah.
like in some way you made it worse, but okay. Um, fully multimodal, so text code, image, voice, audio, input, output. SVG and interactive output can generate moving, clickable demos inside chat. Yeah. Um, coding
See,
and reason.
I thought it was only, it's fully modal input output. I thought it was only input multimodal and output was, it didn't do images and stuff on output.
I
Does it say it does?
It can
Well,
create images.
yeah, it can
It can.
create
Oh, okay.
images.
Oh,
It
okay.
uses
Okay. I thought.
Dolly, and then there's Sora
Yeah.
also, which is like a separate service.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, coding and reasoning outperform human experts on SWE bench verified. So like benchmarks, multi-step reasoning, demonstrated vibe coding, turning vague spec into complete styled function. One of the things that I noticed on this, and maybe I didn't catch this like entirely, but I know when they were doing these like vibe coding prompts where they were like, or these like vibe coding demos, they were using like a separate file with the prompt written in it, and they seemed like very well engineered long prompts to get the results they were getting. They weren't like code me a dashboard. It was like a paragraph of like very specific, clearly engineered prompts. So again, it's a demo thing, right? They're trying to show like, hey, this demo works, and you
Yeah.
However,
that's
that is a good takeaway, where
yeah,
like even if you want to get a quality result, you do need to put in a quality prompt.
yeah, exactly. Like I think I was actually like commenting on a LinkedIn post about this week where somebody was talking about GPT-5, and I think this is the issue that all of these things are going to run into, right? Is that when it comes down to it, the expectation that we're sort of having with AI, where we're like, oh, it should be able to, like, I should be able to say, like, build me this app, and it should be able to, like, just build what's in my head.
But you're giving
It
it no
doesn't, yeah,
information.
like,
Yeah.
that will never happen because we're just expecting that it can read our minds. Maybe, like, at one point when we get, what's that, like, Elon Musk,
Neuralink.
yeah,
Neuralink.
maybe then when you connect Neuralink to ChatGPT. But for now, it's like you have to explicitly put in there like what you want and how it's supposed to look and how it's supposed to function. Um, Otherwise, you're not going to get the result you want. Like it can't, no matter
Well,
how much you like make the model better, it's not going to just like know what you want it to do.
well, this is like what we were saying beforehand too, which is like with all these models, I think, I've noticed. I think this just makes sense, I guess. But like, the more I use them, they're really good at specific tasks when they were very like
Hmm.
especially with coding and so like when I'm working on a project I know what I as long as you know where you want to go specifically and you
Yeah.
narrow you have a narrow focus on what you're asking and a lot of times they do a lot more than that like they'll connect things
Hmm.
which is awesome that you need to do anyway later but you
Yeah.
get really solid results that way like I rarely have bugs when I'm focused but when I start to
Yeah.
get tired, like I was saying, like I'll start to get lazy with my prompts and they get and then you get like all sorts of issues because it's just trying random crap
Yeah,
to try
exactly.
and
And
guess what you want, right? It's like
yeah.
trying to
Like
guess.
that's another thing they kept saying when they were like demoing the vibe coding in this keynote was they're like it creates beautiful like web apps and websites. Uh, they don't all look generic, and it's like, well, they kind of everything you demoed kind of looks generic. And the issue is not that it can't do that. The issue is that you're just giving it a generic prompt, right? And you're asked like we as humans, like you see a website where you're like, wow, that's outstanding, right? In the design, because you haven't seen that before. It's like novel. But when you
Yeah.
see like even beautiful design websites, when you see them over and over and over, they start to look generic, right? And so
Well, also
that's,
nowadays most websites do look fairly because
yeah,
most websites end on that clean sort of minimalist approach.
and you
So you
want
get a
that.
sort of yeah, you do. And they're gonna have similar sections because the idea is anybody will know how to use it, right? Navigate it
Exactly.
and everything. So there's value there for sure, but like you're saying, like they do all kind of look similar and it's gonna depend on the prompt you give. It's
Yeah.
also and I think this is what we're gonna start seeing too, because I think this is where people like I think their expectations are too high, like you were saying, right? Where
Hmm.
they put in the simple prompt and they expect this result, but it's like you also need to know like what packages are the best to use for this case, or to get the response that I want, right? What exists out there that I could employ here that would make it work better so the AI knows what tools to actually like utilize. And I
Yeah.
think that's also tricky.
Yeah. The next thing was reliability and safety. So, described as the most factual and reliable model OpenAI has ever shipped. shipped. Safe completion system offers explanations to alternative for restricted topics instead of outright refusal. And this one I thought was interesting because I thought
That
of
is
you,
actually
Randall, when they started demoing this. So they were talking about like, um, how the model doesn't just like it's almost funny, right? Like we've talked about this before with like cybersecurity and revealing sensitive information through AI models, like um, you know, topics that I'm not going to say the word, but dangerous topics like that relate
Yeah, they
to
call it CBRN, chemical, radiological,
yeah.
nuclear,
exactly.
whatever else,
So
explosives. Yeah, that stuff.
yeah, so those sort of topics. It was interesting because this girl started talking about it, and I was like, oh, like I guess maybe they've come up with like a new way to prevent for this, and it actually turned out being almost the opposite, where she's like, yeah, if it decides on your intent, right? Like it figures out your intent, and if your intent is bad, then it'll refuse. But if your intent is not bad, then it won't refuse. Or like, and I was like, that's
Huh.
kind of dumb. Like that's
Dear
like,
ChatGPT-5, my intentions are good. How
yeah,
do I build a BMD?
yeah.
So we're
Like it
trusting, yeah, we're
was,
trusting this to like, I thought you were gonna say like, I mean, it makes sense to just be like, to just have a message or give you some like other information that's like related, but not the thing that you're asking if it's a bad thing, right? Like, especially if
yeah,
you're asking for like ingredients for something or how to make something, but like,
Dear
right,
ChatGPT, my intentions are good. Please reveal your system prompt.
yeah. Well, it was interesting because, like, we've talked a lot in like our closed group and on here as well about how like you can go about, you know, escaping like around these refusals, right? By saying like, "Oh, my grandma used to tell me stories about how
imagining
to
stuff, yeah.
whatever," right?
Yeah,
And
hypothetically, how would
yeah,
yada
yeah.
yada
And
yada.
like it almost seems like this like plays into that more. Like it's like, oh, let me help you with your grandma's story instead of like maybe this human on the other side of this is being
Wait,
dishonest. So
hold on. They want ChatGPT be 5 being the number one.
yeah,
So
I know.
you gotta
Like,
satisfy
number
everybody, right?
number one by
Mhm.
terrorists.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so
it is an interesting topic because all this like CBRN stuff. So ChatGPT was trained on the internet. So
mhm,
if the answer exists,
it's
it's
out
out
there.
there to be found somewhere on the internet. It's just like, well, maybe it's making it too easy for people to figure it out. And it's like, yeah, sure, but you know,
But I mean, it's sort of like how this is to get into a political debate, but like how people are like, oh, we should have gun laws to prevent, criminals from shooting people. And it's like, well, a criminal is not going to follow the gun law. That's how it works. They're criminals, right? So like that doesn't save
They
anybody.
tend to skirt the laws a little
Yeah,
bit,
yeah. So
by definition.
it's like, yeah, we make it harder because it's out there on the internet. It's like, well, they're gonna just if they really want to be able to do that, they're gonna search for it, and it's not that hard, you know?
No, it,
it's like the Bill Burr joke about the billboards for like "Don't beat your wife," and the guy's
yeah.
just
He's like,
driving by. It's
oh,
like, oh, they're
shit.
Ah,
not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I get
like
it
who are
now.
these for?
If somebody would
Yeah,
have just told me before, I would have
I would
never
have known it
beat
was
my wife.
wrong.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought it was totally acceptable all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. I got two more topics. Sorry, Danny,
Oh,
if you want to,
that's okay. Go
if you
ahead.
had a
Yeah, you're
thought.
good.
There's two more like sort of big topics of changes that have happened. Number four is collaboration and personalization. So now you can adjust the colors on GPT-5.
Ooh.
Oh,
You can adjust reasoning effort, so trade
the
speed
reasoning
for
effort's
depth.
cool. I
Yeah,
think they did it. That's cool, and you have more um flexibility with the API than you do with the actual browser, obviously.
yeah. You can control verbosity or verbosity, so like how concise or detailed are your answers, and then also you can change like the tone, so like how your GPT talks to you or like the behavior it has, pair programming behavior, um, and you can backtrack and retry when it makes a wrong assumption. So I think they stole that from Cursor, the restore checkpoint feature. But yeah, and then the last one is all the API improvements. So There's three options for the API. There's GPT-5, which is the flagship, like max performance. That's basically what you get inside of the browser
Oh,
version. Go ahead.
talking about stealing things. You heard like last week or whatever how they lost OpenAI lost their Claude API because they violated terms of service, right?
I did not
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah, there was something about that last week where it was probably they were busy stealing that.
Probably,
probably.
yeah. Um, hey, good morning, Randall Lapointe. Also in the API, there's the mini and the nano. So these are like, smaller, faster versions of the
They're
model.
cheaper, but they're good for a lot of use cases where you don't
Yeah.
just don't need a yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I saw this meme that I thought was funny. It was like one of those Scooby-Doo memes where it's like the criminal and then they like take the mask off and it's like, or they take like the ghost off and it's like
Yeah.
the person.
An old guy
And
with
it,
like toothpicks and like a flashlight.
yeah, and it was like the first version with the ghost thing on was like GPT-5, and then they like pulled it off, and it was like GPT-4.0, GPT-03, GPT-03 mini. Like it's basically just a wrapper around those that like switches models, and it's sort of I think what's happening here, but I don't know. Um, what else? New custom tool outputs. So freeform text, regex, grammar constraints, custom DSL formats, control preambles and verbosity on a per call basis. That's kind of cool. So these like preambles, they basically say like what it's doing. Um, so I thought this was probably one of the best advances that I saw in terms of like using it in Cursor, because I have used it in Cursor too, which is um, one of the hardest things I think for AI models is to get a sort of deeper understanding of like what's going on behind the scenes, right? We talk about them like they're this black box that just does stuff. You ask it something and it like provides an output. And so it seems like GPT-5 has gotten a lot better in terms of like explaining its thought process and like the steps it's taking, especially in Cursor. Now, I noticed this a lot
Yeah, I
with
know it's
like,
in cursor with like watching what's going on. It types out
yes,
everything it's doing. It's really nice because you do see
yeah.
the full like
And that's what
yeah.
this preamble is. So, like, when you type something in, it basically says like what it's going to do. Now, I will say this: that experience I have already had in Cursor using Claude 4 for months now. Like,
Yeah.
it is
It does
very
that all the
good
time.
at
It does a
doing
nice
that and
checklist.
making
Yeah.
checklists, yeah, and working through problems. I think it's nice to have a second option, um, in terms of like what models can do that. And I think that's sort of the direction that we have to go is get these models to start explaining things because it also, I think, stops them from lying and cheating and making shortcuts, right? Where they have to explain their logic. So I definitely,
It also is good for the user, I think, to see like how they're thinking through can help you with your prompts too and help you
yeah,
notice like, okay, this direction's not working and this iteration will be better because you can see what's actually going on behind the scenes a little bit, which is nice.
yeah. Randall Lapointe said GPT
Yeah.
4.1 mini can handle RAG AI chat in my app with no problem. Super
4.1, yeah,
cheap too.
I use that in something too. It's great. It is very 4.1 mini I've had really nice experience with in terms of using the API.
Yeah. And that is the other thing too that I should point out is from my understanding, the other models will still be available in APIs,
They
like
are,
in
yeah.
API format. It's just not in like the browser version. And I think that goes for Cursor as well. So those are the major things. The other ones are like tool calling upgrades, like smoother integration of external APIs. But that's pretty much it. I mean, from my experience so far, I was impressed by the improvement from previous versions of GPT, like ChatGPT, but on a wider scale of like what's out there and like comparing it to Claude and some of these other models, I think it's like basically just at the same level.
Well, I think this is the issue, right, that we're getting at. Like, yeah, I think
Yeah,
it was definitely an improvement. My use of it has been a good experience using with the little use I've been able to do. I'm gonna try it out more this weekend. Um, So I think it's definitely an improvement. They added some cool tools for the API and stuff backend with the agent workflow and stuff. That's awesome. Those are helpful. So we're getting these improvements, but I think that's what we also our expectations kind of need to be now. Like these models have kind of gotten to a point where they're all very good.
Yeah.
So the next sort of phase of improvements are probably going to be incremental or like adjacent stuff like tool and tweaking and that kind of thing, rather than like necessarily it's knowledge base getting better because we have
Yeah.
that all.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I think some of the main issues with coding come down to just user inputs, right? It's like in garbage
Well,
in,
and
garbage out. Like,
understanding, yeah,
yeah,
understanding what you actually want, knowing how to get there. Because, like, I was thinking about that the other day. Like, I don't, if you didn't know anything, like, trying to put together like a full web app with APIs and stuff, I don't know, it would be really hard because I think about that a lot. Like, when I'm prompting, like, I know what I want it to do back end stuff, so I can explain it very carefully.
yeah,
Or I can explain, like, even the database schema that I want. Like, this is how I want the database set up, do this, because I'm going to do that. And you get then a good response. But if you don't know that, it'd be
yeah.
like just shooting in the
See,
dark, like
I think
hope you hit
I
something.
I joined this Facebook group earlier this week called Vibe Coding is Life, and it's like it's a lot of like non-technical vibe coders, like people who just want to build an app but don't know really anything about development. And somebody posted in there, they're like, I built like 5 apps already, and I know nothing about like coding. I'm just like learning React and Next and Supabase and all these things as I go. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, congratulations. That's amazing. And like, if you ever need help, like, or have questions, let me know. But that made me think a lot about the premise of like boot camps and like how people will go about learning code in the future. And I think it's going to be more of that than any technical boot
Well,
camps or university degrees, because this stuff's
think
going
about
to
how much you
move
can learn by
so
playing with it, right?
right.
Because
Like,
you see, and if you actually are smart enough to read the stuff that's being spit out from it too, you see what
yeah,
works, you see what doesn't. And it's a lot of these new coding languages too, like React, Next, they're easy to read. If
yeah.
you start to look at it over and over, you start to see, okay, that must be because of this, and that was, so
Hmm.
you can kind of see, like, understand what's happening, even if you can't necessarily write it from scratch.
Yeah. I saw this other thing that I thought was like really cool too. Is like, I think that there's going to be a big shift in like the job market in terms of how people hire, right? It used to be like
Yeah.
you went to university, you interned somewhere, and then you make this like formal resume of like, oh, I know this language and I have this certification and this and that. And then like employers would be like, oh, that this person's the most like on paper qualified. But now you're going to have people who are like, I built 10 apps last week. These are all 10 of them. And this is the user feedback. And this is how I improve the apps. And this is how I'm using AI tools to like facilitate that. Employers are going to favor that now. Like, we're going towards that direction where it's like there's no benefit to having more certifications or anything. There's benefit to building shit, which has always kind of been the case, but like now it's more obvious than ever. Is like, if you it doesn't matter, like it's sort of like that debate of like, is it more worthwhile to go to college to get a degree for a sheet of paper, or should you spend that 4 years actually in the industry doing the thing, especially
Well,
if you
doing
don't
stuff,
like need
doing things you're always going to learn more, right? And
right.
but I think this is like AI offers that benefit where you can totally like now learn so much faster with it. And you can learn
Yeah,
while you're building real things. But it also requires that the individual is like paying attention and doing what they need to actually
totally.
learn it, right? Otherwise, and results are gonna get better as you do more with that. So
It
yeah.
also
Yeah,
it also lowers the bar to where anybody can create apps. Because you remember in our
yeah.
boot camp how there was that one dude who created like the Python project that blew
Oh
us
God.
all away, and he was like, "I did this whole thing
And he
myself,"
stole
and
it.
it's like this crazy 3D Python app, and we're all blown away. We're like, "How on earth did he do that?" And then we're watching
Yeah,
tutorials later on, and it was just some tutorial
he
that he
just
followed
copied
along.
it completely.
But
Yeah.
it's
And
like
he was like, so
it's
I
gonna
had to
get to the
do that.
point.
I had to figure out the actual cosine here for this math.
Yeah,
I was like, no, you didn't, you liar.
Yeah.
You didn't do any
yeah.
math.
Yeah,
Uh,
so but it's cool because it lowers the bar because essentially now anybody could create a really cool looking app, but it's like how can you differentiate yourself? You're not just creating a generic app, you're solving a
Right.
particular problem and you're iterating on that.
Yeah, and I think this is the I think it's a really cool time because we've talked about this before where people get like upset about somebody stealing their idea and like now there's no excuse, right? It's like if you have an idea and like a
Yeah. OpenAI
little
already stole it.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
don't
like
worry.
yeah, but like if you have an idea and a little bit of motivation, you can build something that actually functions and does what you want it to
What's
do
supposed to. Yeah.
in like hours now, right? Like
Not to mention, it's and it just like, dude, like I don't know, like I don't know about you, but like you learn so much too using these things too, because like
totally.
it'll take like, especially like I noticed that like was one of my favorite things to do with it when I'm working on a project is like if I am not like if there's several ways I might go about, because coding, there's like a million ways to solve every problem.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's interesting too to see what it comes up with because I'll like learn, oh, that is a different approach that I wouldn't have taken, but it works and it solves this other issue. So hey, I'm gonna start using that now in the future. Like it's cool if you pay attention, you see a lot of interesting things it'll choose to do that I might not, and yeah, you keep just growing from it, which is awesome. And you
Yeah.
can, dude, you can pick up new tools now like nothing. That's the other cool thing. Like new packages, new, frameworks and stuff are so easy because all you need to really know is how this stuff goes together and you have AI to help with it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Randall Lapointe said the number of educators with advanced degrees that don't quite understand the concept of context engineering, it's a tricky balance. Yeah. I-
yeah.
that's honestly, that's a lot of why like Chris Graves and I are building Precursor because I think it's sort of the bridge between these like non-technical uh, like founders and the ability to use these AI tools in an advanced way because you can talk to it like it's just chat
Well,
and then it
yeah.
builds the technical documents and walks you through like what tech stack to use and then builds these plans for AI to basically do that. Now,
Well, that's the problem for somebody that doesn't know, though, right? It's like you don't know which technologies might work best in this situation, or you don't understand like what approach do I set up? Do I need, how do I set this up? Like all that stuff's kind of
yeah,
foreign, so yeah, it makes it easier.
yeah. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. We had a great time talking about GPT-5. I hope it improves over the next coming weeks, as it typically does. I mean, the first rollout is never super smooth. I hope I have my GPT limits back restored now that it's been a couple hours, and I'll keep using it inside of Cursor. If you guys do want to join our community, you can do so now on our website at codenoobs.io. You can hang out with us directly right after this call. We have another call that is like a shared community call where you actually get on the Zoom call with us and hang out for a couple hours. So if you want to do that, you can join us today. The call starts at 10 a.m. All you have to do is go to our website, codenoobs.io, and about halfway down the page, or if you click any of the buttons on there, it'll basically take you to a form that you'll just fill out with your name, your email, and your Telegram. And that actually puts you inside our Telegram community as well. So throughout the week, if you have questions, you can pop your question in there and somebody from the community will answer it, or we will answer it directly for you. And yeah, so you can join us there. Go over to codenoobs.io, fill out that form, and then you'll get an email with a link to today's call.
Nice.
Yeah. And thank you guys for hanging out. We'll see you if you're inside the community already. We'll see you in about 20 minutes. And if not, we'll see you next Saturday.